Welcome, fight fans, to another deep dive into the lives of MMA most legendary fighters. Today on WWR MMA, we're taking a closer look at the story of one of the most unique and feared fighters in UFC history, Tony "El Cucuy" Ferguson. From his humble beginnings, relentless work ethic, and rise to UFC stardom, to the technical brilliance and misfortune that shaped his career. Get ready to relive Tony's epic wars, his moments of brilliance inside the Octagon, and the trials that eventually led to his fall. But before we jump in, let's take a moment to remind you, if you love learning about MMA greatest stories, subscribe to our channel and tap that notification bell. Whether you're into fighter profiles, epic fight breakdowns, or the latest MMA news, our channel is your go-to spot for all things fighting. Now let's dive into the career of Tony Ferguson. Point number 1. Early life and wrestling beginnings. Tony Ferguson's story starts not in a UFC cage, but on the wrestling mats of Michigan, where he honed his competitive spirit. Born on February 12, 1984, in Oxnard, California, Tony's family moved to Muskegon, Michigan, where he was raised in a hardworking blue-collar environment. Growing up in a single-parent household, Tony's early life was defined by determination and resilience, traits he would carry with him into every fight. As a teenager, Tony found his passion in wrestling, excelling early on. He wasn't just talented, he was obsessive, a relentless competitor. Ferguson's dedication to training separated him from his peers. By the time he was in high school, Tony had become a standout on the wrestling team, racking up 3 all-state honors. His commitment to improvement was relentless, spending countless hours refining his skills, often outworking his teammates and competitors. At Grand Valley State University, Ferguson's wrestling career took off when he won the 2006 NTUA National Championship, a defining moment in his athletic life. This victory didn't come easily. Tony's journey was marked by hard-fought matches. Point number 2. Transition to MMA. Tony's MMA journey officially began in 2008, fighting in regional promotions. His first few fights were raw, showcasing a blend of ferocious wrestling, scrappy striking, and immense heart. He wasn't polished yet, but there was something different about him. He was unpredictable, both to his opponents and the fans. Tony wasn't afraid to take risks, and it paid off early on. Ferguson's aggressive, pressure-heavy style caught the attention of coaches and fans alike. He wasn't just winning, he was winning decisively. His knockout power combined with his ability to take fights to the ground made him a tough puzzle to solve. Tony quickly made a name for himself with a string of victories, which set the stage for his entrance onto the national stage in the UFC reality show. The Ultimate Fighter 2011 was a breakthrough year for Tony. On The Ultimate Fighter Season 13, Ferguson bulldozed through the competition. Each fight showcased something different: his wrestling, his striking, his cardio. Tony was becoming a complete fighter, one that no one could easily prepare for. In the season finale, Tony put an exclamation point on his rise by knocking out Ramsey Nijem with brutal precision, securing his spot in the UFC with a UFC contract. The victory wasn't just a win for Tony, it was a statement. He wasn't just another prospect. He was here to make his mark. Point number 3. The rise, unbeaten streak, and defining fights. From 2013 to 2019, Tony Ferguson went on one of the most impressive and fearsome runs in UFC history. He faced a murderer's row of lightweight contenders, defeating everyone in his path. But it wasn't just the fact that he was winning, it was the way he was doing it. Tony's fights were chaotic and violent, filled with scrambles, wild striking, and slick submissions. He didn't just beat his opponents, he broke them, mentally and physically. One of the defining moments of this streak came in his fight against Edson Barboza in December 2015. Barboza, known for his devastating leg kicks and elite striking, was expected to give Ferguson a tough test. The fight was a war from the start, with both men exchanging blows in a fast-paced, bloody battle. Ferguson was cut early, with blood pouring down his face, but that only seemed to fuel him. In the second round, Tony capitalized on a moment in the scramble, locking in a tight Darce choke to secure the victory. It was a performance that earned Fight of the Night honors, and it showed the world that Ferguson was a serious threat to anyone in the division. And then came the fight with Kevin Lee for the interim UFC lightweight championship in 2017. This was the fight where Ferguson solidified his status as one of the top lightweights in the world. Lee came out strong, taking Ferguson down and mounting him early in the fight. But Tony, known for his ability to stay calm in dangerous positions, didn't panic. He weathered the storm, reversed the position, and in the third round, locked in another signature D'Arce choke, forcing Lee to tap. With that victory, Tony became the interim lightweight champion, a title that, in many people's eyes, made him the true champion. Point number 4. Technical brilliance, the unique style of Tony. What truly set Tony apart from the rest of the lightweight division was his unorthodox and unpredictable fighting style. No one quite fought like Tony Ferguson. He was as creative as he was relentless. Opponents never knew what was coming next. Was it a spinning elbow, a wild punch, or a lightning-quick submission attempt? One of Ferguson's most devastating weapons was his elbow strikes. Unlike traditional boxers or kickboxers, Tony incorporated elbows into almost every aspect of his game. He threw them from the clinch, from the ground, and even off of missed punches. They weren't just part of his striking arsenal. They were weapons designed to slice open his opponents and create damage. Some of the bloodiest fights in UFC history were the result of Ferguson's razor-sharp elbows cutting through his opponent's defense. Tony's submission game was equally dangerous. His D'Arce choke was a thing of beauty, and he used it to tap out multiple opponents throughout his career. Whether standing or on the ground, Tony had a way of locking in the choke from seemingly impossible positions, forcing even the best grapplers to tap. His submission game wasn't just about technique, it was about timing, and Ferguson had the ability to capitalize on his opponent's mistakes in an instant. Point number 5. The fall, injuries, bad luck, and recent struggles. But despite all of Ferguson's brilliance inside the cage, MMA is an unforgiving sport, and Tony's career took a tragic turn starting in 2018. Injuries began to pile up, including a devastating knee injury that required surgery and kept him out of action for over a year. Even worse, the long-anticipated fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov was cursed. Scheduled 5 times, each bout fell apart due to injuries, weight-cutting issues, and even the pandemic. Fans were robbed of what many believed would be the greatest lightweight fight in UFC history. Ferguson's return in 2020 against Justin Gaethje was supposed to be his redemption. But in one of the most brutal fights of the year, Gaethje's pinpoint striking and relentless pressure proved too much for Tony. Despite absorbing an unbelievable amount of punishment, Ferguson refused to quit until the referee was forced to stop the fight in the 5th round. It was a heartbreaking loss, marking the end of his legendary win streak. Following that, Ferguson would lose consecutive fights to Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush, each fight showcasing a Tony who, while still dangerous, seemed to be losing his edge. Many began to wonder whether years of fighting wars inside the Octagon had finally caught up to him. Conclusion: the legacy of El Cucuy. No matter what the future holds for Tony Ferguson, his legacy in the UFC is already cemented. With a fight style that blended creativity, toughness, and relentless aggression, Tony brought something unique to the Octagon. Fans will never forget his wild fights, bloody battles, or the countless submission victories that made him one of the most feared men in the lightweight division. Whether it was his legendary unbeaten streak, his unorthodox training routines, or his memorable personality inside and outside the cage, Ferguson has left an undeniable mark on the sport of mixed martial arts. As MMA evolves, his contributions to the sport will always be remembered. Will Tony Ferguson return to the top of the lightweight division? Only time will tell. But regardless of what happens next, his career will continue to inspire fighters around the world to push their limits, embrace the chaos, and keep moving forward, just as Tony did every time he stepped into the Octagon. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the career of Tony El Cucuy Ferguson. We hope you enjoyed diving into the highs, lows, and unforgettable moments of one of the UFC most exciting fighters. If you love content like this, Make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Here at WWR MMA, we're dedicated to bringing you the best breakdowns, fighter profiles, and deep dives into the greatest stories in mixed martial arts. We've got more amazing content coming up, from fighter analysis to UFC history, and you won't want to miss a single episode. And don't forget to drop a comment below what's your favorite Tony Ferguson fight. What fighter would you like us to cover next? Let us know. Until next time, stay tuned, stay passionate, and as always, keep the fight going. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.